GoFundMe page. What are you going to do about it? In all good conscience, Enoch, what are you, a good Christian man, going to do about what you're about to see? And what is your thought process? Not on my watch. I've got to stop this. I don't want this to happen to anybody I know. You want this to happen to people in your church, Enoch? People, do you want your people in your church having to go on? How about in your neighborhood? How about your friends, your neighbors, your relatives? Do you want them to have to be on Facebook to be embarrassment? To have anybody we know and care about have to go on Facebook, on a GoFundMe. But Mary, a decision has to be made. Just because we have 60 people on this call today, 59 of them are just here punching, just kind of a checklist. I went to Saturday train. If you're not moved forward to do something, that means you're going backwards. Either you're growing or you're dying. Either getting closer to your dreams and goals and your purpose for being, or you are receding. There's no in betweens. So Tony, hit us with the reality of what life is like for so many people out there.
Thank you, Coach, and good morning, everybody. This is a football. This is why I do what I do. This is a GoFundMe page, Coach. This is one zip code in Nevada, just one. There's 150 entries for funeral alone in one zip code in Nevada, Coach, over the last 30 days. And I want you folks to look at this.
5 a day per zip code.
Yes, sir.
I heard there's 3,000 of these in every zip code. Every zip code you go to and around the major city, you're going to find these.
Yeah, and this is not a major city, Coach. But folks, look at this. Look at this. These are people. These are fathers. These are I say this every time, but you need to understand. He knew at some point he was going to die. If he could go back and talk to one of us, if he could go back and fix what his family what he put his family through, do you think he would do it? Put in the chat. Do you think he would go back if he could and prevent this? Because folks, all they need is 2,000. That's all they're looking for is $2,000. Let me tell this to you, folks. You cannot tell me that you love your family if you don't have life insurance. Coach, your book, and I have it here because I love it. I always keep it close to me. I know it's one of the second iterations. I have all of them. It's called The Last Love Letter. You can go on the company store and get it. But Coach, you have this, and it's one of the most, I think, powerful quotes you can ever have. You can have life insurance without love, but you cannot have love without life insurance. Because let me tell you what happens in this situation, folks, because I've been there. The widow hates her husband. The family really has to question, did Dad really love us? Because for pennies a day, for $1 a day, this all could have been avoided. There's two things that happen with this, folks. Either the husband didn't love their family enough, or we didn't love them enough as a sales force, as an army, to reach them and recruit enough and to duplicate and do the multiplications enough to reach them. But Coach, there was a loss of love somewhere, and unfortunately, it was probably both.
I heard this the other day. Nothing says love more than a diamond. And how we are brainwashed, the diamond's our girl's best friend. The diamond, it's just a piece of stone. That's all it is, a rock that they jack up in price because it's the thing you give your loved one. But nothing says love better than a life insurance policy. You want to say, honey, I love you. I know you love me. No, I love you. Let me show you. Let me show you how much I love you. Same thing with again, all those people have friends. They're all broke. Why don't they call their relatives and say, we need $2,000 for Johnny's funeral? They don't even have, they can't even call their friends, their church members, their loved ones, the relationships they haven't built, apparently. Tony?
Coach, I did some research and I have a video, but I'm not going to show it, but look it up. It's called Funeral Poverty.
Well, after Sam speaks, pull that up, okay? How long
Yes,
does it
sir.
last?
It's about, I took it like a minute, sir, but it just kind of shows you
Well,
what's
why don't you
happening
have
right now.
Sam come up next? So right after Sam, right after before your next part.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. And Sam, you're all set too, so you can share. Thank you, Coach. But that's what I
Oh,
have.
thank you very much, Tony. Sam, Sam, you're on, right?
Yeah, I am, Bill.
Sam, we gotta. This kept haunting me. In good conscience, in good conscience, we can't let this keep happening. And Sam, what about you? I mean, you have to have a crusade. There's got to be some reason we're doing all this and not just the game of building RVPs and districts. You've got to have an end result that if everybody else in the company quit, you just shrug your shoulders and say, I'm not quitting. I can't stop on this. Sam, can you talk about that?
Thanks, Bill. Good morning, everybody. It's ironic, Bill, that I was in an appointment recently, and the thing you're talking about, and it was a referral. I go inside the home. The wife calls the husband. He's here. He's here. He's here. Well, that tells me, man, he's there, but he's not in a hurry to get to the table. So we come to the table and we sit down and we going through everything and telling the man about what we do and how we can help them. It's all about them at this point. And for him to say, I'm not buying no life insurance. I'm not buying it. And she was like, well, why, Robert? What do you mean? I mean, we need it. We got 5 kids. And he says, well, just do the thing. If something happens to me, do what you did the last time we had an emergency. Just go borrow from your 401k. And in the military, there's something called the laws of engagement. But if there's a law of engagement, there must also be a law of disengagement. At that point, I exercise that law. That law means I look at my phone and I'm like, whoa, the car is not moving. I'm on my way. Well, I was on my way because the car wasn't moving. The car was in a garage and my wife was here and I could spend more time with her than with him. And at the same time, I'm like, she says, if you don't get life insurance, I'm not borrowing money from my phone. And all of a sudden it's becoming heated and I have no business being there. But it brought me to a verse of scripture, Ecclesiastes 6:3, something that, man, we had a session with men in our group. And it says this: a man may have 100 children and live many years, yet no matter how long he lives, if he cannot enjoy his prosperity and does not receive proper burial, I say that a stillborn child is better off than he. Now that's saying a whole lot. We all talk about 1 Timothy 5:8, denying the faith worse than an infidel because you don't provide effectively for the welfare of your own. And she called me and she says, Sam, later on, and matter of fact, the next day, and she says, what options do I have? Can I get life insurance with him not knowing it? Hey, y'all had any of those before? Can I get life insurance without my husband knowing it? And I'm like, ma'am, he has to sign it. He has to sign it. And she says, what are my options? I said, well, you want me to be honest with you? And she said, yes. I said, one is have your church, if you go to church, whatever, contribute, sell chicken dinners or sweet potato pie sales, or what most people do today is GoFundMe. I said, but there is no other option. But look what I pulled up. When you look at GoFundMe versus life insurance, GoFundMe, unpredictable, relies on the generosity of others, and many campaigns do not reach their goals. Life insurance, guaranteed payout of a specific amount to a named beneficiaries. Financial support, the amount raised often falls far short. But life insurance provides a predetermined death benefit that can cover long-term needs like mortgage, education, and well, look at this, emotional burden. And that's the one though, Bill. The family may feel stressed or ashamed are ashamed for financial help during this time. And the key here is GoFundMe is not life insurance. It's a way of begging for someone else to take care of your responsibility because you are communist. And I look at it, and when I'm dealing, now this is hard, and some of you might not like this, but there's three types of people I walk away from their home and I categorize them as. The first one is the communist. That's the guy. Something happened to me, go to your 401k. Let the state take care of me. Yeah, what you do is you give his body to science. That's the communists, Cynthia. They don't care. I don't care what happened. Bury me in my backyard. Y'all heard that one before? That's a communist. Let the state take care of me. Okay, they'll give you something to bury me. Oh, I was in the military. They gonna pay for my funeral. Man, that is so untrue. That's a communist, Roy. That's a communist. You know what you do when you get around communists? You leave, you move, and America is becoming a nation of communists. Okay, I mean, how sad. Let somebody else take care of my responsibility. Number two is the wimp. I used to put sisters, but they said I can't do that anymore. Wimp. The wimp is, now my family has had this life insurance agent. Yeah, but look at what he did to you. Well, I can't change because I don't want to keep that. That's like somebody always buying a Ford and all of a sudden now would never buy a Chevrolet. You know, that's a wimp. I can't make the right decision for me and my family because I'm going to offend somebody else that really don't care about me. That's a wimp. But then we have the All-American. Let me tell you about the All-American. Who can I call? Michael Brumfield. Let me tell you about the All-American, Mike. The All-American said, hey, Sam, you can take care of me and my family. You mean I have 100,000 and you're going to give me 400,000? My wife has 100,000. You're going to give me another 400,000. I have nothing on my children, Carolyn, and you're going to put insurance on each one of my children. And it's going to cost me so much less to do that. And do you mean that I am not, man, I have an already too late attitude. Why hasn't it been done already? Let's do it now. And the key here is, that's the type of person you want to walk away from with a good, you walk away with a good feeling. And when my wife, I go home, my wife says, Sam, how's your day been? How's your day been? How's your day been? I can tell her, I had two communists. I had a wimp and I had an All-American. It makes you feel so good to be able, to say that. But listen to me. Don't apologize. Don't apologize. Just become saddened because your tax dollars will soon come into play to take care of the responsibility of some dud who cares nothing about his family. I heard Tony talking about Coach Bill, the last love letter. Boy, that is so true. That is so true. Because when death occurs, and I got 2 death claims I'm paying this week, Bill, two. And the key here is they both had our insurance. And our insurance is providing. And they are so happy. But I'm going to tell you this too. One of them called me and said, hey, Sam, listen, man, you know what happened to me at the funeral home? And I said, no. He said, and the guy works with us in our office. His wife died. And he says, man, they told this guy, the funeral director told me they don't accept monthly payments. I have to have the whole amount. I said, well, you know why he told you that? Because he didn't have too many defaulting on their monthly payment. You can't dig that joker back up and say, go to work. This is not working. So what we have to do is we have to have a realistic approach when we're dealing with families. And by the way, I've gotten to the point, I'm like Myron Golden. I'm not convincing you to do anything. I'll persuade you. But if I got to beg you to take care of your family, if I got to beg you to get insurance so that your family can be provided for in the event of your untimely death, by the way, it's going to happen. Nick, is going to happen. I don't care how much you prepared. I don't care, man, what it's going to happen sooner or later. But now, if I have children, I have house payments, I have responsibilities like debt and all those things. I want to make sure if something happens to me, I have enough to cover that to provide effectively for my family. But by the way, our company has something called a theory of decreasing responsibility. And what it does, I always tell people, man, this is the only company, life insurance company I know of that will do the right thing for you if you do the right thing, and you don't have to pay, and you don't have to buy life insurance later on in life. It's the only one that try to get you out of insurance. But while you need it, we're going to give you more than enough because we're going to provide you with plans, with programs, customized solutions. Man, I mean, that's just the way it goes. And when you get in a situation like here in Denver, where you have, man, so many, they're not married, they're not getting married, you know, they're just living together, you know. And it's, I call that a commitment issue. And it's the tragedy of just intentional debauchery. Is that, can I say that here? I this is what, when I feel unobligated, I'm gone. Bye. Take care of everything, you take care of it, or you take care of it. You take, no. So when we go in, we coming in with an opportunity, first of all, but we also coming in with a game plan that would help the All-American, who would help you identify and get yourself away from the communists and the wimp. Okay? Questions, Bill? Coach Bill, questions?
Well, I just looked it up, and you paid probably around 250 death claims by now. How does that feel, Sam? And I'm talking about, that's got to be close to $20 million of value that you brought your community to people that didn't even know something terrible was going to happen. And you've been paid probably, I don't know, millions of dollars to do it. Talk about that, Sam. You know, I interviewed Art the other day, and he talked about the power of a crusade combined with compensation. When you have a crusade combined with you make money doing it, it explodes. Again, you pay 250 death claims, $20 million. You've been paid millions to do it. Talk about that, Sam, and how powerful that is. And these are people's lives. These are women with children at the kitchen table today saying, we got to make some changes. We don't have any money. Your dad died. We don't have any insurance, or it's not enough. We have to go fund me. So you're going to have to change schools. You're going to have to go live with my mom and dad. You're going to have to share one bedroom, all three of you. Talk about that, Sam. This is not pretty.
You know, Bill, we're paid in direct proportion to the services that we render, period. And if I'm providing a $25,000 life policy to a family, of a young family of 4 and 5, death occurs, I'm not investing nothing. But if I provide 400,000, 500,000, million plus to that family, and death occurs, I can show that person how to reposition their assets, invest that money to provide for the income that has been lost. That's what we do. And by doing that, we're paid in direct proportion to the service that we render. Case in point, I went to a family bill. The wife had 75,000 and the husband had 50,000. She was a primary, she was making more money, obviously, but she had a hair salon. But another referral, I go in and we change it. We changed the 250,000 on him, 200,000 on her. We actually put less on her than him because that's how she wanted it. And we put insurance on the children. But guess what? It costs them $20-something more per month. Can you believe that? Now, this is what happened. 6 months later, not even 6 months, he goes to Chick-fil-A. He gets on the line, he orders food, he goes, sits in his car, something happens. Young guy. he dies right there. He's in his car sitting up, people passing by. They think he's just in his car. The wife is looking for him. A whole day passed. She goes and she knows he likes Chick-fil-A, and she's driving around, see his car. There he is. But this is the catch. The funeral director called me, and the funeral director said, they got a policy with you. And I said, yes, they do. And the funeral director says, this is in the contestability period. I want to make sure this is good. Now, she's sitting there with this guy. By this time, I'm getting kind of upset because she said, Sam, he's saying, I'm not going to pay. Sam, blah, 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 blah. And I'm telling her, look, we will pay, period. Worst case scenario, worst case, if you lied about anything, we're going to pay what you had before on that old policy. And she said, you're going to do that? Your company? And so the funeral director, he gets back on the phone and he says, can you give me that policy number? He called the company. You know what he did? He called me back himself. And you know what he did when he called me back himself? He said, boy, you were telling the truth. You were right. And I said, man, why would I lie to a funeral director? Not only did I tell him the truth, he said, you know what, man, your company is the first company I heard of ever that would do this. And I've been in this business forever. And I'm like, you know, that one thing that happened, and I tell y'all this too, when I went to and I'm gonna let you go after this, but when I went to the repast, I'm sitting in there, man. I go to the back and I'm signing the book. She's at the front. They just roll the body out. The body's out. All the friends are around, and they're just all crying and they're consoling her, you know. And you know the usual. If I can do anything for you, I'm here for you. Well, I got to pay this mortgage next month. I got this car payment next month. I got this groceries, and my kids, they still got to pay blah 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 blah. But about it, they didn't say that. But you can just think about it. But she saw me. She saw me. She left them. She came walking around the side and came all the way to the back where I was. You know why she came back there, Coach Bill? Because I had the last love letter. And you know what she said? She said, I am so glad you came to our house. Wow. And she hugged me. Lipstick all on my shirt. I didn't care. It was the best feeling, boy. It was the best feeling you can have, Carolyn. She was so excited, man. And I mean, even in death, there's hope because we bring it. You bring it. You bring it. And don't apologize. And don't be ashamed to tell people what you do. I mean, I give a fat rat, but this is what I do, okay? And you'll be smart and listen to me, Manny, okay? This is what we do. All right, Coach.
I want to talk about that hug. People have no idea. You know, Art says you're really not in this business until you pay a death claim. I believe you're really not in this business until you don't pay a death claim. What do you think that means, Sam? When you're not in business until you don't pay a death claim.
Well, you know, Bill, you're not in business until you don't pay a death claim. You're writing a bunch of death claims, okay? But it's not the same when you pay that first one, though, Bill. When you pay that first one, it's like, man, I can't believe this. But if you're not in business until you don't pay a death claim. Man, before I didn't pay a death claim, I was just.
Well, Sam, it's the ones that you should have paid, but you didn't talk to them.
Oh,
and you live the rest of your life with regret.
Well, yeah, I've had some like that. They call them all those that are on my chicken list that I thought were too, you know, they were above me in some way and things like that that I did not talk to. And I had one was this big preacher in Denver, and it happened. And he actually contacted me. I ended up writing a policy on him, but not on his wife, who actually predeceased him. And I felt really bad. Really, really bad, because they had this $40-something thousand funeral and he couldn't pay for it. He could not pay for it. And I tell you something else too. Why that happens is like my friend I'm telling you, whose wife just died. And the funeral director said they don't take monthly. They don't take monthly payment. The funeral director, the other one, the other one that he did go to, the guy told him, don't let the funeral homes know if, even if it's me, don't tell me if you got life insurance. Just tell me you can pay it, because once they find out you got it, he said they're gonna find a program for you. And I'm like, wow, that's unfortunate. So paying death claims until you pay one, but the ones that you don't pay, the people that you should have talked to, that you didn't talk to, yeah, that hurts. And it stays with you for a long time. Because they had 5 children. He died 2 years later.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. I love your words of encouragement. And is there any way you can get that quote on chat
That quote on what?
that you started out with, that quote,
Oh,
so
oh,
that people can make a copy of it and use that when they present? Okay.
all right, Bill.
Or text it to me. Text it to me, and I'll send it to Tony, and she'll put it up.
Yeah, because I'm not a techie. Half this.
I know you're not. I'm not either. I'm not either. Thank you, Sam. Incredible. Tony, you're going to be talking about a little bit about life insurance and some scripts. You can talk about, I believe in scripts. Never present unless you have a script in front of you as to what you're going to say to people. Tony?
Thank you, Coach. And folks, I just wanted to share this real quick video. I'm not going to show the whole thing. This was CBS on April 2nd, 2025. You can look for it if you want. But I want to have you guys listen to this real fast, and then I'll continue talking.
We began tonight with taxes. We turn now to that other certainty in life, death. Most people don't like to talk about it, but the fact is, baby boomers are dying at a rate of 2 a minute. And not planning for the inevitable can leave survivors deep in debt. It is known as funeral poverty. Mark Strassman has tonight's Eye on America.
If you think living is expensive these days, try dying.
He was our dad.
Good dad.
Great dad. Great dad.
We met Mary Wenzel and Christine Gabriel, grieving sisters outside Chicago. Their father, George Gabriel, was 85 when he died last August. The retired truck driver had no savings and no life insurance they could collect.
Did you talk to your dad about dying?
Not once.
Not once.
Not once. You don't want to, because then you know the end is near.
They showed us the bill for what they thought was his modest funeral, organized after he died. It was more than $12,000.
And do you have the money?
No, absolutely not. At the time, I lost my father and lost my job on the same day.
For many families, planning a funeral is like planning a wedding, except they only have a few days. And it gets expensive. Nationally, the median cost of a funeral, including casket and burial, is more than $8,000.
It is a difficult subject.
And they go on to say this, it's a difficult subject because it's emotionally charged anyway. And the newscaster asked, it goes, in the time of death where you're so emotionally devastated, that is not the time to be making important financial decisions. And folks, the reason why we're here today is because we need to eradicate those kind of stories, because those ladies love their dad. But did you hear it? This was on April 2nd. Their dad died in August. They're still paying that debt. They had to max out all of their credit cards because they couldn't get a loan. And this is 100% avoidable. And so what I want to talk to you guys about today is, how do you help? What do we do in this? This is why we recruit, folks. This is why you're on this call. The reason why that dad died without enough is because he never talked to one of us. And I'll tell you this, Coach, I'm very blessed in this business.
Tony, let me interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
We believe in a decreasing responsibility theory where we think everyone older has enough money where they don't have to have life. That man needed life insurance. Talk about that for about a minute.
Yeah, because Coach, Here's the thing. You have life insurance is renting wealth until you can accumulate the wealth. He never accumulated and he never rented. And the power, folks, I mean, this is why you come to trainings, folks, because when I was very young in this business, I've already shared the story about how one of the agents who was higher up than me, I had just started, and she never talked to her cousin. She made an appointment to talk to him on Labor Day. He died the Saturday before Labor Day. And her grandmother looked at her, his entire family, except for one special needs child. Everyone, there was four caskets in that church that morning. It took them 3 months to get to the funeral because they had to accumulate the money to do it. And the grandmother stood up, looked at her granddaughter and said, "Isn't this the business you're in? Why you never talk to your own family? What we're not good enough for you?" Put yourself in that situation with every single chicken list person you got on your list. Because this is the reality of what we need to prevent. That devastated that grandmother financially. It devastated her emotionally. It devastated her society. The agent was emotionally scarred. She left the island not even 3 months after that call, after that talk. She left the entire state, folks. So the regret of not talking to someone and having them pass. Coach Jessica Powers, as great as she is, she's delivered. What was the one? He said, "What's that one story?" And she goes, "My neighbor. He died, left his wife. They had to sell the house." And you asked her why, because she got really emotional. And you asked her why. And she said, "Because that was the one I didn't talk to yet." Please borrow these stories so you don't have your own. Please borrow these stories, because I'm going to be honest with you, Alicia. Either you're going to have the story of your own or you're going to use one of ours. The reality is it's going to happen. Let you learn from our mistakes. But how do we do this? This is why we need an army, coach. We can't just have a few of us. We can't do this alone, Gina. Jasmine, none of us are good enough to do this alone. Sam Sarai put in, he had, what was it? He paid almost 250,000 claims, 250 death claims as of June of this year. Why? Because he built an army. Those are not every single person he's talked to. Let's be clear about that. It's his people spoke to him. And it was probably people who are no longer with us. In terms of the business, not in death, just be clear. But they did what they were supposed to do in the time that they did it. They met with that person so that Sam Sarai could deliver that last love letter. And folks, it is a love letter. In the time that you feel abandoned, and the time that you feel alone, and the time that you feel isolated, and the time that you don't feel like you're even worthy of love, because if you were, the person that you loved would have stayed. So what I'm about to show you is because you need to build the army now, because it's going to happen. Do it now so you've built it up so you can defend your family, defend the community, defend the legacy of the person who died. We're here to defend their dignity, their honor, and their respect. And so, I'm going to get all passionate, Coach. I'm sorry, but this is real. Yeah. This is real. Like, if you don't understand, go talk to someone who is a widow. Just, someone who's a widow. Talk to them, not right after the death, but 5 years from now. Like they're 5 year, 10 year. You know what? They'll have tears in their eyes. Then they're gonna look off in the distance, and their voice is gonna get soft. And they'll go, "Oh yeah, that was a hard time. I don't remember most of it. It's just a blur." Talk to them so you can understand why you're really here. Because if you do that, and you do what I'm about to tell you to do, you will be repaid handsomely for the service you gave. But if you don't, you will be paid handsomely in the regret that you're going to earn. And I said, "Well, Tony, it's a little hard." No, it's not, because I've seen it. I talked to that agent. I just talked to her because it was her birthday. Folks, she still carries that wound. And that's from 2008. So, nope, I want to do that one. You already did you. Hold on. So my topic today is, what do you say? What do you say to get the Army? What do you say to get the RV? Why do we need an RVP factory? Because we need RVPs who have RVPs, because each of those RVPs have people that are in their agency, they're in their brokerage, and they need to go out and save all of the starfish. Like, you don't understand. Every single tear of a widow is one too many. When it's about money and it's about devastation, like, coach, you put it in your head. The mother talking to their children right now, honeys, I know we miss daddy. I don't know why he had to leave and leave us like this. And it's exactly what it sounds like. He didn't just die, folks. He left us like this. So what do you say to get the appointment? You got to get the raw materials. The raw materials in our business, folks, is people. Because people bring appointments. Appointments bring clients. Clients bring death claims. Death claims bring peace. So you ask, so let me get this working for you. When you're talking to someone, you've done the presentation, like Matt Swerbicki did a fantastic job with how he presents. Who could not say, I want to do this? I want to do both. What do I do in order to do what you do? Great. So do you want me to do this for somebody else or do it for you? And they'll go, do it for me. Great. When I say the word ambitious, who comes to mind in these areas? Folks, STAM is easy to remember. S stands for sales. T stands for teacher. E stands for enthusiastic. A stands for ambitious. M stands for motivated. Who do you know is highly motivated? Who's the most ambitious, motivated person you know? Who's the most enthusiastic person you know? Who is the greatest teacher you've ever seen or known? Not just normal, like, official teachers, but like unofficial teachers. Who has credibility that people, when they talk, everyone listens? Who's the best sales experience you ever experienced? Do you mind if I call them and tell them that? No, folks. Every interview, every KT, ask these things. And this is what with those names, you go, hello, Matt. My name is Tony. You and I have a friend in John. You know John Rogers, don't you? Right, John said, this is what you say. I'm going to put it in the chat, so don't worry. You don't have to memorize. You don't have to be taking pictures. You don't have to be writing down what I'm saying. Just, you know me, I'm going to put it in the chat. Like I put in the chat, this is how many death claims were paid by our coach, by Sam Sarai, because he did this. It's in the chat already. And you just ask, like, are you open? I work for a New York Stock Exchange company. We're looking for people who are highly recommended. And if you're highly recommended, like you were, Matt, by John Rogers, I have got to talk to you. That's, folks, your only job is not to do the presentation or the phone. It's just to get them to commit a time and a place for you.
Tony, let me interrupt you for a second.
Yes,
I want to go over this for a second. This is the one I've used for decades. The key thing you don't want to say is, you don't know me. You never want to say, you and I have mutual friends. You don't know me, John. No. You've got to be understanding that the ticket in is that your mutual friend's name. Another thing on the third one there says, she insisted that I call you. Big word there, insisted. It encourages people to realize, right? The only thing that I want you to change is at the very last one, 5 to 10 minutes on Zoom. 5 to 10 minutes.
got it.
Why 5 to 10 minutes? Because you'll find out whether or not you're interested in them. Everyone's got 5 or 10 minutes. So that's the only thing I would, but this is exactly what I said over, and no, I can do it, close my eyes, and I can give it all to you. So thank you, Tony, for doing this. This works. What I want people to do is type this up, put it right next to your computer or phone, and say it word for word. Whenever I started getting lower ratios, I went back to repeating word for word this presentation.
And folks, I want you to realize who just said that. Like, okay, like, No one has done more presentations and more script calling than our coach. No one in this company. Period. End of story. Undeniable. Folks, listen, this is a recipe. And if they ask questions, what is it all about? Well, John said that you were going to ask that question. We are always bring, Coach, I love it. You know what? John said you were going to say that. Whoever did, they said you were going to say that. And again, use their name. We are a New York Stock Exchange company with over 100,000 people and expanding to attract more ambitious people like you, like how John said you are. I only need 5 to 10 minutes. I'll change that, Coach. And your questions will be answered because Matt, would you want to know the information? You want to know the information. Again, is blah, blah, blah. And you just book the appointment, folks.
Again, you've complimented them.
Yeah.
You've even people don't get compliments on a regular basis, and you've complimented them at the beginning, and look at that, you're complimenting them at the end.
Yep.
That's why this script works. Tony.
Thank you, Coach. And then, sorry, last one. I'm not interested. I can understand that. I felt the same way. So did John. I need your help. Who do you know? So, folks, every phone call is either going to be an appointment or they're going to give you someone to get an appointment with.
So a no should give you names.
Exactly.
That's how we got Jessica Powers, $300,000 earner. Go ahead.
No, Coach. And here's the thing. Close with this. Well, Matt, let me ask you a question. And this is at the end. If I can help you come and get us get a license, and you say, and you never have to go into that newspaper job again. You don't have to go attend all the minor leagues and all the little leagues and all the pee-wee leagues and do all that. You'll never have to do that again. And earn as much money as you want to buy. Would there be something you'd be open to doing? Just tie it down. Get him to focus. Coach, I'll just end with this. First 27 appointments I made, all no-showed or canceled. First 27 appointments, folks. Why? Because I knew better. I knew what to say. You don't know no. And they gave me the script just like we're giving you now. And after I was like, and I would go into training, I'd be all dejected. Showing up, sitting there waiting for them, and they never show up, Coach. 27 first appointments, all of them no show. And then my coach, my RVP said, well, why don't you try the script? Fine. Do you know what I did, Mr. Roy? I did this. Hello, Roy. This is Tony. How are you doing? Wafa. And I purposely did it bad, folks, because I wanted to prove to him that script doesn't work. Guess what happened? They were my first appointment. They were my first client. And so I started this talk, and I'm going to end it with the same words. Learn from our mistakes, or you're going to make the same ones. Tammy Green, I already paid the price for you. Don't pay it again. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you very much, Tony. That was excellent. Now we have Roy Greer. Roy, he's going to be talking about How Money Workbook. And we have to remember, this is a treasure. This book is a treasure. And if you want to guaranteed have an appointment, you always wonder, what do I say to people, to get, if you met them at a grocery store or something, what do you guys do for a living? Blah, blah, blah. I got a book you need to read. See, because if they say, no, I'm not interested, you'd never feel rejection because they're rejecting the book. So, Roy, you picked out a couple of chapters you really believe in and have the desires so that people need to get this in their hands. Roy Greer.
Anybody hear me?
We can hear you now, Roy. Good.
Okay.
By the way, congratulations to you and Cynthia. What a team you are. You make us so proud that two great people come together with a common cause great things happen. That's what you and Cynthia have created. Congratulations, Roy.
Thank you for that. I tell you, it's by listening to great people, the reason why we get where we're going to go. Because if we just listen to ourselves, we don't go nowhere. If we listen to people who's not in the business, we don't go nowhere because we listen to maybe what they say. So this book here, How Money Works book, I couldn't pull the book up, but I did pick out one thing I love about the book, and it's talk about the rule of 72. But I wish they had put in this book the last love letter. If I was going to teach that, it would be the last love letter in that book. Because I believe that that's what we've been talking about all today. I lost a 13-year-old about 10 years ago. So that same person would be 23 years old today. And chicken list, if you don't get past that chicken list, and how do you get past the chicken list? You got to get in training on Saturday mornings. You got to go on Tuesday nights and invite people. You got to go to get big or go home. That's how you get past the chicken list, because you got to know the worth in you. If you don't know the worth in you and what you do here, you will leave the company and go find something else that's better, that you think is better, that will pay you more money. Oh, I made $40,000 in a week. Or yeah, you can make it in a week after you do the wrong things. But what I liked about this book here, and it's only costs $1 too. I don't know if Tony can pull up the book, How Money Works book, but you can order it from the company. It's $1. Pass those out. And guess what? Where I learned this from? Coach Bill. He says, when you are prospecting, hand out the book. And when I mentioned that last love letter, that was the page I would say, hey, read this page right here, and I want to get back with you in a couple of days. But with that How Money's Workbook, you can pick out this page here too. Talk about the rule of 72. That's what I liked. I think this right here solidified me in the business too, other than going to the company convention when I seen all those black people there. That's what solidified me, because we go to places that people look just like you. Because when somebody come to my house and said, hey, you could have this type of money, and they didn't look like me, I was like, oh, okay, whatever you say, because yeah, you got it, but not me. But when I went to the company convention and I saw people look just like me, guess what? That solidified it. And then when I learned about the rule of 72, when I was in the military for 21 years and I retired broke, and if I'd have known this right here, it probably would have saved me, because I was buying U.S. saving bonds, y'all.
Oh.
Because that's what they told us. Buy U.S. saving bond, buy $100 bond for $50. But I didn't know. But when it matures, it'll be worth $100. But I didn't get the word mature quick enough here, because it was talking about maturing in 20 years. That's my career right there. So I got $100 in 20 years. So I bought all these U.S. saving bonds, and I think I cashed it out. I think it was maybe $5,000 in 20 years. So the rule of 72 says this: whatever interest rate you getting on your money, you divide it by 72, right? And of course, the people who've been here for a while understands that. So let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about just the $10,000, because also I've been hearing IULs. Why people leave the company and go sell IULs? Because it's secure. You don't lose no money. You don't pay taxes on it. So that sounds good to untrained minds. That you mean I can make money and not pay taxes on it? Well, I don't want the government taxing me. So, and then you can retire with maybe, well, they don't retire with it, but they have all this money they say they have. But so the rule of 72 says this, y'all. Let's just take you was getting 3% on your money. That's that safe money. That's not in the stock market. It's maybe mimicking the stock market. Bond funds, like the U.S. saving bonds that I was in, right? At that time, it was only paying 1% return. Okay? Because I was looking at that. Because I was thinking, oh, I'm investing. I'm giving money every month. I'm protecting my family. So I buy U.S. saving bonds. But let's just say it was paying me 3%. And let's say I started out with 10,000, which I didn't have but zero, okay, because the military enlisted, wasn't get paid no money. I was just glad I was get 3 meals a day and can have a roof over my family's head. But I was barely making it. But I was buying U.S. saving bonds because that's what they told me I need to do. Because I'm going to listen to people above me, right? Listen to people above you that's going somewhere, right? But we tend to listen to people who are below us or equal to us that's not going anywhere. See? See, if I was told right, I would have went in the military as an officer. Why? Paid more money, better housing, better food, better everything, bigger houses. But I didn't do that. So the rule of 72 says this: whatever interest rate you're getting on your money, divided by 3. So let's just say I was getting $10,000 divided by 3 is 24. So I started out with 10,000. 24 years later, I only made additional $10,000. Now, if you add that 24 years to your age right now, was that a good place? It was safe money, but what is that a good place for your retirement money? Because we know if you was doing medical, if you had a medical issue in right now, it would cost you more than $20,000 right now. So you wiped out just one single issue. Cancer will wipe you out that quick. After 48 years, all I got is $40,000. And at 3% is safe. That's what they tell you in all those good places. You don't want to be taxed on it. Now, I ain't going to be taxed on it, but $40,000 in 48 years, add 48 years to your age. How old would you be? Come on. You see, even a blind person, which we are blind financially, but if somebody explained it to us the right way, we can open our eyes. See, the old saying say, I was blind, but now I can see. You can see here, we teach you this. There's no other company's going to do what we do. They try to mimic us, but they're not going to do what we do because they're sell products that's good for their pocket. Okay. Now, this is what I love about school teachers. Everybody know school teachers? Here's a winning point. School teachers get the teacher's retirement plan, don't they? They average between 3 to 6%, and they don't get to pick their portfolio. In case y'all didn't know that, it's already chosen for them. That's why they are sold 403Bs. If you know anything about 403Bs, which you get your security license, you'll learn that. But 403Bs is another taxable account that they put them in because they're not going to have enough money with that teacher's retirement. So they get another taxable account. So the 403B is fixed. But let's just say we paid that teacher 6%. Okay, a little bit better. 72 divided by 6. Well, your money going to double a bit better every 6 years. Every 12 years. So now in 20 years, you got 20, in 12 years, you got 20,000. So you got a little bit better, right? A little better. The link is still, not really there in the market, maybe middle grade, but you got to retire with at least $1 million to $2 million. This is why school teachers go back to work. School teachers work about an average of about 36 years. They start about 25 if they go through their normal state, right? So they retire about $80,000 in their retirement plan. Now, you 60 some years old, school teacher getting ready to retire with 80,000. Most school teachers make about $50,000 annually once they really get to it, right? So they get ready to retire only with $80,000. If they keep the same standard of living, how long would the $80,000 last them? But let's just say they're even better. They retire with 160 and 36, but we know it's going to be 48 years they're going to retire with 160. But let's just say they had 160. How long would 160 last them? Dude, math don't lie here. See, we can't lie to our clients. We can't lie to ourselves because the numbers don't lie. But in the market, if you mention the market to people, oh no, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna lose money. I'm gonna get taxed on my money that I make. Now, think about that. Even if I get taxed on the money that I make, did I not make more money than what I gave? So some of those life insurance policies out there tell you that you can get these and then you don't get to pay taxes on them. Well, that tells me this, that I didn't make enough money. That means I gave you more money than I received. So look at this in the market here. Now, 72 divided by 12, because we want 12% on our money, don't we? But we want the high percentage. When we want to make money, we want 12%. Now, when we buying houses and stuff, I want to be back in the 3. But don't fall for that 50-year loan they're talking about. Come on, we already mad at a 30-year loan. And heck, you're going to go to a 50-year loan to make my payments cheaper, and I'm going to pay you more interest in the long run. We'll be dead years old. I'm 62. What if I get a 50-year loan? Who cares? But anyway, that's another situation that they're trying to get us in. They're trying to get us into that. We got to stay out of that mess. But let's say 72 divided by 12, it's going to double every 6 years. Now, this is the money, that 10,000 that you started with, that you were scared to put in the market, but the investment guy or the investment gal that you had, they, because we know what we're doing, we went and took your 10,000 and put it in the market. Isn't that something? Look what we made off of your money. In 12 years, in 6 years, we made, there's 20,000. In 12 years, there's 40. But look at that, 24 years. They made $160,000 off your money. Now, if I make $160,000 off your money, I'll give you 40 or 20, depends on which one you want to be at the 3 or 6, and I'm just walking off happy. But if I show you how to make 2.5 million, do you care if you got to pay taxes on that?
No.
Because if you stay over the 3%, yeah, you ain't got to pay tax on that 40,000. But can you retire at 40,000? Can you? No, you ain't got to pay tax on that 6% at 160. And some of those life insurance policies they put you in that you ain't got to pay taxes on. I'll pay you 160,000. You ain't got to pay taxes on that, coach. But I'm gonna walk off with 2.5 million of your money. And I'm happy. And I call you a fool every day. And my kids going to wake up owning your kids. Because guess what? You're going to go work for my kids. And my kids going to guess what they're going to do again? Because I taught them this. They're going to keep doing it to your kids. And so your whole generation will retire dead broke and still working. If we don't tell people that, how can we win the money game if we don't learn this here? There's nobody else teaching that. Pull up the rule of 72. That's not a Primerica rule. Pull it up. Look at it. Learn it. Why would you leave this company? Why would you not even do business with us and listen to us if you knew this? So this is what we should learn in school, but we didn't. What we learned in school, go get a good job, get good grades, score A's, and go get a good job. But they didn't tell us that the same job I was going for, it was 500 million more people after that same job, and they're only going to pick the top 5. But I'm sitting here with $100,000 of debt and I can't find a job. Or the government shut down because it's a good job to go work for the U.S. government. But now they shut down and I can't pay my bills. And the people that I owe, guess what? They're not going to say, oh, don't worry about it. We'll waive those interests on your money. But they'll talk you into try to say, don't go get the 12%. Stick with the 3 to 6 so you don't have to pay the government no taxes on your money. But you're going to retire dead broke. You're going to leave your family. That's why these families can't afford a funeral, because nobody's talking to them about that. They're talking to them about buying these high-priced IULs, giving us $400 a month, but they won't give you $50 a month. But they're gonna find $400 a month out of a middle-class person? Ain't no way. So then they sell them junk. The rule of 72 will save you. It will save you with your 401k right now if you listen. Why would you want to not listen to us? The new people on here. Don't let nobody tickle your ear because you think it's something better out there. Nothing better than Primerica. I've been here 22 years. We went over $200,000. What? I was in the military for 21 years, y'all. All I made was $30,000. And that was the last year I was in. Not $30,000 for every year, for 21 years. That was the last year I was in, y'all. And then, because I didn't make another rank, guess what they did? They let me go. They fired me, basically. I wasn't ready to go. I still had bills. I was broke. But when I learned this rule of 72, now we're investing. My Cynthia tell you, I'm aggressive. I don't want no 6. I don't want no 7. I want 12. If I can get 20, that's where all my money's going. Because I understand the market. You'll make money. So you tax me on it. Who cares? I got to pay interest on $2 million. But I definitely don't want to pay taxes on 100. Oh, I'm only made 160,000. I'm good. Give me $2 million. Tax me. That means I'm making a lot of money. I'm not scared of taxes, y'all. More I pay taxes, guess what that means, y'all? More I pay taxes. Can you put the blank in? The more I pay taxes, that means the less I pay tax, that means the less and the less I'm making, can I pay my bills? These people that got furloughed, they didn't have enough money saved. You should have had at least $20,000 saved. Emergency fund. I love when Coach Frank told us, save money because one day money's going to do what? Save you. And that's all I got for y'all this morning.
But one of the things I want to point out, you did a great job here. This is not about explaining the rule of 72. It's about your passion and how, when you look at the How Money Works book, it's got to be, I've got this book you need to read. And by the way, you've got to read this one chapter. You've got to read this one chapter. It'll change your life. It changed my life, and it's going to change your life. I got to get this book to you. And my whole company is getting this book out to people. Am I right, Roy? It's passion, it's conviction,
Yeah,
it's setting on fire something that they've never heard about.
you got to have that passion with that because you got to believe in what we do. So that's why I'm passing this book out to you. When I talk to people right now, I talk about their 401k. I said, do y'all have a 401k on your job? You got to be passionate enough to be concerned about them. See, if you're concerned about their retiring broke, because we have the knowledge to know that if you don't read this book, if you don't see what's in here, because remember they said to keep the information from somebody, if you don't read a book, what you can't learn nothing really. That's why it's so important to read books. That's why they tell us pick up a book. Why? Because there's information in that book. Because if I just tell you, you're thinking I'm just trying to sell you. But if you read it, if I show it to you in print, wait a minute, this guy is not going to have this book all color coded, and he's not going to spend that type of money to try to tell me something, try to get money out of me because they lost some money trying to give you this book. Find something in that How Money Workbook, order it, and find that page. My page is the rule of 72. You might have the one about the life insurance in there. You might have the one about the snowballing, how to pay your debt off quicker. There's something in that book is going to reach you. But I wish Coach Bill would call them up and say, hey, you need to put my last love letter in there. I tell you what, if you read that one, that right there, if that don't make you do something, make a client do something, talking about get it from your 401k or Jody, I'm not going to leave money for Jody. Some of y'all know who Jody is. Or Sanchos. Down here, we call them Sanchos. Spanish. Why? Because they don't want to leave money for somebody else. Selfish, or they don't want to take a needle in the arm. Oh, I'm scared of needle. Big old bulky man don't want to take a needle to get blood work done to protect his family. And he's got 3 or 4 kids. And now he lost his job. This is a true story. Now he done lost his job 10 years later. He can't get insurance because now he's got diabetes, overweight, high cholesterol. Can you put some insurance on me now? I can't do it now. That last love letter or that How Money Work book. Use those things to your advantage.
Again, it's the old adage, put yourself on fire and people come to watch you burn.
Watch you burn.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much, Roy. That was excellent. And now we have Nick. And one of the things we're going to be showing you here, people need to understand what we're like. You know, when I came up with for me, using the we're like real estate, I would say we're just like real estate. And if they said, well, this thing looks like, I said, no, it's just like real estate. Well, it looks like a pyramid. No, it's just like real estate. Unless you answer what we're like, it doesn't, there's a hole in their thinking, and they're going to go to whatever comes to their mind that's not going to be good. And so Nick's going to be talking about we're just like Coca-Cola. Nick?
Wow. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey,
Great
tell us how
lineup
those
this morning.
kiddos are doing. Some of my 2 favorite, almost grandchildren. They're beautiful, beautiful children you have. My heart melts every time you send me a picture. They're doing good. They're into sports, right, Nick?
Right, right. Madison is actually at a volleyball game right now, and they're doing well. They're up one set so far, and the junior had a tournament this past weekend. He did well, scored his first points, official points, outside of the YMCA. But we're in a homeschool association league, and so they're doing well. They're doing well, Coach.
All right, Nick. How do we like Coca-Cola, and why is that important?
Yeah, and so y'all listen. I'm gonna fly through this. I got a short period of time. Definitely want to hear from our power builders coming up later. So I won't steal too much time, but I'm gonna fly through these things as I go through. Just listen with squinted ears. All right, and so let me share this presentation with you all. Yeah, we're just like Coca-Cola, and before I get into that, I want to just explain and kind of set the stage about thinking like Mr. Coca-Cola, if you will, just to keep it simple, to think like Mr. Jeff Bezos, to think like Mr. Jerry Jones. All right, when it comes to the operation that we're building, I'm just going to use my own personal testimony as I've been reflecting here and stuff like that. And so let me share this with you all. So I'm gonna just start off with what is the difference between recruiting and building. I'm gonna jump into the second part of the message this morning. So, excuse me. So we talk about this scenario right here and what it means. Do I just want another recruit? And so I'm gonna talk about the difference between obviously recruiting and building. Coach Bill, please stop me if anything is contrary to the A.O. Williams way, okay? And so, yeah, so I need another recruit. Builders say depth is more important than the width. How many of us, and I'm talking to myself, right, are a mile wide and an inch deep, as they say? And so I was doing a circle chart last night, and the circle chart looks like a Ferris wheel. That's good, but it shouldn't be just a Ferris wheel, right? And so recruiting is who you bring into the business, right? Building is what you do with them. So once again, recruiting is who you bring in, building is what you do with them. A recruiter is constantly looking for a perfect system, a perfect this, a perfect that. I'm gonna bring in a high quality recruit, right? Coach Bill, how many times have people said to you, Bill, you really got to meet this guy? They give you his job title like that means anything. They give you their background like that means anything, right? Because they all come and go versus saying, whatever this person is, you need to meet Bill Orender. This is the example, right? And so the builders, though, ultimately see the forest through the trees, the bigger picture, more clarity, and stuff like that. A recruiter welcomes a new associate to the team, right? A person like Bill Orender shows them and welcomes them to the team, but then says, let me show you how to get out. So what does that mean? I'm not just recruiting you to recruit, right? A recruiter wants a joiner, right? A builder doesn't want a joiner. They want a survivor, a thriver. But Coach Bill says, now I got you in the company. I'm going to show you how to get out of the company, not retired or not, out of the business, but out of the field, right? And so recruiting is gathering the puzzle pieces. Building is putting these pieces together so you can see the complete picture, right? And a recruiter may recruit just for a higher contract. And so I get to RVP, congratulations. The builder says, I'm going to recruit to the desired outcome. What's the desired outcome? It's not necessarily that right there. You take a look at I'm just thinking about where I want to be. And like Coach Bill says, well, Nick, are you moving closer towards that with your daily actions? You want to be an SNSD with 5 SNSD and 5 people with Circle of Champions? So the finished puzzle piece, and everybody's going to look different, right? But ultimately, what is yours? And I'm talking to myself, right? And so a recruiter is like Olivier is saying, he said last Century Club about a recruiter is like a lake. You see how small this lake is and how little effect it can have? It may be some value, right? But you take a look at the Brazos River and think about the value that it brings. So the builder is the river, the recruiter is the lake, right? And so you take a look at Coca-Cola. What makes them so special is that most people would say they're in the drink business. They're in the distribution of drinks business. And so they got vending machines. They got Coke machines. They got refreshments. Then they got canned things. Now, where do these things go? Right? You take a look at this thing right here, a hotel, inside of a restaurant, inside of a grocery store. Now, they don't just have it in one hotel, right? So they have partnerships. Most people that don't understand business always say, well, you're going to make money off of me. Do y'all think Coca-Cola wants the Marriott chain to open up more hotels? You think they want the IHG, the International Hotel Group, to open up more locations? You think they're happy and satisfied with McDonald's, right? So they deliver the product to them and they have a great partnership. You think they're just limited to Aldi or Kroger or Walmart? They're everywhere. And so one of the greatest things is that today, just like every day, we can say, I will wake up, scour the earth for potential. It may seem like a weak talent pool, but sprinkled amongst the unmotivated masses are the unsatisfied beast. And that's what gets us going in the morning, right? You take a look at what are some of the history's greatest mysteries, I guess some people would say, right? Was there really such thing as a King David? You know, is there really such a thing as the lost city of Atlantis? Right? Who is Jack the Ripper? Right? What about these statues on this island, on Easter Island, right? Who killed Jimmy Hoffa? And more importantly, where is this dude's body at? Right? And how did they get this milk, this caramel inside of this bar here? But one of the mysteries, y'all, that we should really not question, just like Mr. Roy just got through saying, is I can come here and build a hierarchy. I can build a business. I can build a organization and products flow through it. Why can we be so bold in that? Because we have the evidence all around us. And like Tony said in the beginning, who did we just hear from that said, I said this exact thing that has paid him 7 figures for the last 50 years, right? And so we talk about that, Coach. So that was just to set the stage for this other little presentation here that I'll slide over to. And hopefully that makes sense on just setting the stage and the mindset of the Coca-Cola machines. And I'll transfer to this one as well. Here we go. So if the CEO of Coca-Cola approached you and said we need to expand in and around the DFW area, we will pay you to get these machines out, what would be your reaction? For most people, is to get a dolly, some gloves, and a truck. Ultimately, that's what a lot of people would do. And then if you ask the same question to these builders here, right? Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Dave Stewart, most people don't know who he is. Google him, right? And so what would their reaction be, though? It would be totally different. But because many of us were taught to make money the wrong way, right? You get paid to do the work. You get $1,000 per machine. You take the dollar, you get 10 machines out. You make $10,000. You trade time for money. But at the same time, though, you risk hurting your back, you know, your legs and your arms and whatever it is, right? But you get paid good money to do so. Ultimately worn out. Then you can get paid to get the work done. So you have 3 friends that you say, I want to help get machines across Dallas-Fort Worth. You get paid $700 per machine, right? You pay them $700, right? There's an old Chinese proverb that say, many hands make light work. You get paid $3,000 per machine that gets put out, right? So same thing here. Then they have 3 friends that put out the machines. Notice that that's 70% on the first, 50% on the second, right? Now you get paid $9,000 on those machines there. The same thing, $9,000. The upline gets paid $6,000. So you're leveraging time and energy, right? In summary, you can have these 2 options here. 10 machines put out, you can make $40,000. Sounds pretty great. You get paid $300. Seems very small, right? But look what the income is in a month, right? And plus you get more market capitalization on that as well. So which one do you want? Coach Bill said we're all in the same company, but many of us are in different businesses. No, I'll let you sink it in, right? Fuddruckers, they said, is the greatest burger in the world. Most people would agree. Who sells more, though? The magic question. Why does McDonald's sell the most? And they taste the least best, I guess, right? They have more distribution. So you take a look at Starbucks. I'm going to just fly through this real quickly. Y'all just see this real quickly, though. They opened up one store. Notice they sold the store And when they sold it to the Schultz folk people, they immediately started opening up more outlets. And look what what happened for them, right? And so focus on distribution. They added products along the way. You want to be in the financial industry, or do you want to be in the financial business? And there's always another level, right? In Wingstop world, you can be the wing expert, you can be the wing owner, you can be the franchisor, right? Y'all have seen this before. There was Jay-Z the rapper, Jay-Z the music executive, and now the businessman who is now went from the hood to sitting down with Warren Buffett, right? And that's Bill's favorite quote, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. And so Michael Jordan, the player, the owner, the brand, right? He made more money as the owner versus the player, right? Even though he was the GOAT, right? Oprah Winfrey story. She went there. She got promoted to RVP, right? That's how she got started in her little situation. And last but not least, all these people here from an overriding standpoint, and this is just Coca-Cola machines from Oprah Winfrey's standpoint, right? Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, but at the end of the day, these people are moving products through Oprah's override system. So that was a very quick crash course on these things. So that what they all have in common, real quickly, they're in the business. They're in the business of putting people in business. All of those folks, right? Jay-Z, if you take a look at the Rockefeller hierarchy, they own a lot of things, right? And you take a look at Primerica. Primerica's in the business of putting people in business as well. From my understanding, you cannot go to the home office and buy a life insurance policy. They will say, "Oh, we have an office and agency down the road. We only help people, right? Open up offices there, right?" So anyway, that's the name of the game, Coach, from a Coca-Cola standpoint.
Can you put that quote back again about with my picture on it? There you go. I like it. All right. Well, thank you very much, Nick. Let me ask you one question. I always hate the work on the negative, but what keeps people from building distribution? What's the hangup? They hear it, they hear it.
Coach, there's a lot of shiny objects in the company. You said it before. Art Williams started a distribution company. Many people think, I'll just say me. You're not in the financial business. You're in the distribution business. Our business card says Primerica on the front. We joined Primerica. The business side of it, the back side of the card says you represent Primerica Life Insurance Company. You represent PFSI Investments. You represent PFS Mortgage. You didn't get recruited by a mortgage company, though. Most of us are not. I'm not smart enough to be an investment advisor, right? And stuff like that. But we're great crusaders. And a lot of times the shiny objects can get in the way of what we set out to do. So many of us are not going to be like a Tony Narain and write 150,000 personal premium every month for the last 25, 30 years.
You know, Nick, talk about this before we get mad up. I'm concerned that a lot of people are missing the boat. They don't see 10 years down the road and what the power of compounding people can mean to them. Again, you can't have compounding unless you put something in. You put $1 in, it starts compounding. If you don't put people in, so when people don't put people in, talk about how They doubt the power of compounding people, or their egos are, oh, I'm not in that kind of business. I'm a financial advisor, or I'm a, I'm a series, whatever it is. I'm in a securities business. What if Art Williams' ego, when someone said, Art, this looks like a pyramid? What if Art Williams tucked his tail and ran? Talk about that, Nick, and how you've got to understand people are going to label you, they're going to call you things, but look where would I be today with Carol if I had listened to them and my ego got in the way? Ego, edging God out, edging greatness out. Nick?
What name a wealthy person that got there using these two things. You can't do it. And so
Even
I
Michael
think
Jordan, as great as he was, he didn't make any money. He makes 400 million a year not playing basketball.
right. You made him barely scratched a million, I guess, when he was playing. But coach, it's really just a mindset. I think Mr. Roy said it perfectly about if you don't take advantage of these things, you're going to be taken advantage of. The writing is on the wall that 100% off of one isn't the way to go for a large majority of people, right? There are some people that wake up, they want to be a lawyer, doctor, right, and all that good stuff. But y'all, can y'all imagine right now if you Google the Johnny Cochran law firm, you will see how many lawyers are part of that group. Somebody can Google that right fast, but it's a fast growing recruiting lawyer type of situation. And they're helping more people than the lawyer that, let's just say, knows everything. And so, because eventually you're going to tire out, and so does 100% off one's income, Coach Bill. So you're looking at the example of you and all the people that you put in front of us week to week, whether it be Andy Onstead, Francis Averett, Cheryl Bartlett, Brad Gerard, and these people come from sometimes humble beginnings, but they just implemented the system, and
I see
everyone does that.
Carolyn said 3,000 attorneys. And
3,000.
I would
So one,
say half the people on this call don't know who Johnny Cochran is.
and
They
he
don't know.
died long time ago.
They might remember him from some image on Jerry Seinfeld when they had that one guy that acted like him. But other than that, which was really funny. But
So
anyway, thank you very
one
much, Nick.
lawyer coach turned into
That was
3,000 lawyers. That's incredible.
Yep. Again, you don't want to be a lawyer to be a lawyer. You want to be a lawyer to have a law firm. You don't want to be a dentist to be a dentist. You want to be a dentist so you can open up. I can't believe how many people own beauty salons and don't have a license. They've never fixed, but they own salons. My sister, she made more money when she opened up her own beauty salon because she rented out the chair. She made more money off that than she did doing hair. I don't know how she and I got into that. Both my parents were factory workers. But thank you very much, Nick. That was outstanding. Now we have Matt Wiersbicky, $300,000 earner. He is invited to the senior leadership meeting, and he'll be there with us in January. So, Matt, you're going to talk about what's there between our business and a job. Matt Wiersbicky.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, great training, everybody. I mean, just epic. Hey, Roy, man, that's the best I ever heard you. And Sam, you're always great, and everybody. I mean, it's just like even the leadership team gets better and draws me in. And Nick was giving a presentation. I'm like, oh, damn, I do that. Okay, yeah, I got to work on that. So, every level, you're always trying to grow, always trying to learn, but Bill asked me to really talk about, what are the things that make us different than a job? And I think, case in point, to kind of set the stage for these 10 points, to piggyback off what Nick said, think about this. If you ask your average American, right, middle class American, what's the biggest asset that you'll ever own? Hands down, the answer would be what? My home. right? Because if you ask somebody, hey, is it better to rent? Is it better to own? The vast majority of people would say to own. Why? Because I could rent it out and make passive income off it. I could sell it. It's an appreciating asset over time, right or wrong. Okay. But the reality is, the greatest asset that we have is our ability to generate income. And when you look at a 9 to 5 or whatever hours people work, I look at that as renting an apartment. Because why? See, if you show up and you stay, you get paid. You show up, you stay, you get paid. You could do that for 25 years. You no longer stay, whether it's your choice or the company's, you got nothing left. Just like renting an apartment, right or wrong. I don't care who signs the check. It could be Microsoft, it could be McDonald's, it could be the local grocery store. It doesn't matter. A job is renting your income. No equity built, period. But you go build a business, especially the greatest business model in America, in my opinion, I'm going to talk about that. Well, you do this for 20 years, 10 years, 30 years, and you can what? You can pass it on to your kids and have an asset. You could sell it back to the company and turn a profit. And so I think so many people miss the mark on that. We understand home ownership versus renting, but most people don't understand owning your income and owning your time versus renting, because we've all bought into the, I don't know if the Industrial Revolution started or whatever, but it's a mindset shift. And I think that's an important thing as we hit these. Okay. So, number one, the thing that separates us the biggest from a job is having freedom, right? The ability to come and go as you like. Now, I always say this in Primerica, first comes flexibility. What do I mean? Hey, maybe you're full-time on this call, you're a regional leader, or maybe you're a new RVP, or maybe you just have the ability to be full-time before you're even that high. You've got flexibility. You could choose when you want to work, right? If you have to dip out for something important, or there's something you want to do, you can come and go as you like. No one will tell you where to go. We don't have quotas, we don't have office requirements. But by the way, that is not freedom. That's not freedom. Being self-employed means not that you don't have to work, or you don't have a schedule. You just get to pick the schedule. But that is flexibility. Freedom comes from what Nick just talked about: creating distribution, creating a big base shop that creates multiple RVPs, where eventually you can be like Bill and make a 7-figure income 100% passively for a long period of time. Anybody interested in something like that? Okay, that's our goal, right? That's freedom. Now, the reality is you can't get that at a job. Primerica is the only place where the more money you make, if you're doing it through the system we're talking about, you work less. I promise you, I used to hear this and I'm like, man, they're lying. They used to say, it's a lot more work to run a $10,000 base shop than a $40,000 base shop. Like, man, they're so full of it. That's such a front. It's true. It's 1,000% true. Sometimes we'll do 35, 40,000, and I didn't have my best month at all. But I remember trying to get it up to 10 in the beginning. If I didn't have my best month, it was not getting there. And so that's the beautiful thing. Whereas if you're a corporate CEO, if you climb the ladder, if you're the fair-haired child, if you're the chosen one, right? And that's a major if. I certainly would have never been it, because I'm not good at politics. Then you're going to be working. CEOs don't work 5 hours a week and sit on a beach. They work 100 hours a week. They get phone calls from China, from international companies at 2 a.m. I have buddies, because Connecticut's a big military defense, right? There's contracts out here. There's Sikorsky, there's Raytheon, there's, I don't have no idea why, but they're all out here, right? And so I know some guys who make what I make. They make $250,000, they make 300, or they make 200. They have a good income. And you know what? I'm here every day. I never leave. And half the time when I talk to them, they're like, I'm going to China for 10 days. And they've got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. I promise you, as pretty as you think that is, in corporate, the more you work, the more you're owned. Here, the bigger you get, the more you build, the less responsibility you have. Other than out of your heart wanting to help your people grow. You know what I mean? But no quota, no contingency. There's nowhere else in the world that has that. Nowhere. Number two, you're your own boss. We talked about equity and ownership, but I found out when I came to this company, I remember this vividly, vividly. Out of all the memories I had in college, I thought I was going to be an attorney. I come from a family of attorneys. You guys know I can talk. And I did an internship and found out, I was like, wow, there's a lot of research in law, and I hate research. So sure enough, I knew it's not what I want to do. So I was walking up to my last day from my apartment in Newport, Rhode Island. If you haven't been, go. It's beautiful. And I went, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to have to work for the next 40 to 50 years of my life, and I hate working. What am I gonna do? I really thought that. I was like, college is over. You know, it was like the last week of college, that type of realization, like, oh my God, I got to grow up. And so like that whole point to being able, what I found out when God blessed me to be dropped in Primerica, because I said, I'm a pretty mediocre employee because there was no reward. It didn't feel like mine. But I found out I was a great business owner. Why? Because I was building my own thing. I was my own boss. I got to call my own shots. Was it a little harder at points? I had to put a little more work in up front? Yeah, of course. But I just found out it fit me so much better, right? Some of us have we wonder why it's so hard for us to keep a job, or we bounce this job, or we never like this and never get along with our boss. You weren't meant to have a job. That's why you're here, okay? Right? Third is control over your own destiny. We are what we repeatedly do. Our habits dictate our success. The same way we can look at a great mutual fund or look at a great company and their value that's growing. I could sit with you and look at the habits you have and know exactly where you're going to be in this company in the next year, 3 years, 5 years. And the good news is we get to control those things. We control our own destiny. And I think Roy talked about this so well, and it's such a truth, and I can't always say it, right? Because, just the demographic that I am, the socioeconomics that is me, a middle-aged white male. But I love that Primerica has everybody winning from every race, every country, every age. Bill, we just had a 79-year-old pass her life license. And we're pretty good at staying on the market. So I don't know how she got in, but I love her because I'm like telling young people, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm tired. I'm like, she's 79 and fired
Thank
up.
you.
Yeah, there you go. And she's on training. I didn't know, but I'm glad you're here, Lola. Congrats. Big shout out to you, right? That's so cool. You can come here and you control it. You're 70. Oh, I started late. I'm 62. Lola would say, oh, I'd love to be 62. Or you might say, hey, the color of my skin, the lack of education. I was born in another country. No matter what it is, there's someone in this company not just winning, but winning big that you can relate to. Just like when I came here and, my demographic, I was young. I was young for the industry. I was 23. I'm like, am I too young to do this? People are going to take me seriously. All I need is to see one person like me win. And I'm like, boom, got it. And that's what I latched onto. And that's why you get to control your own fate. Number 4 is overrides. Man, overrides are everything. Meaning it's so life-changing. The first time, we have a thing, everybody congratulates somebody on, getting their license. It's a big deal. You should. But I always congratulate the upline. I say, congratulations on officially becoming a broker. You now have your first licensed agent. Because by the way, a broker without agents is an agent, right? And so that big first step, the first time somebody else makes a sale and you get paid and you're with your family or you're on another appointment, or the best is when you're closing an app and then 2 people write one. Oh, I love that, right? I'm like, man, I'm working 9 hours right now. I'm working 10 hours. I'm working 20 hours. That is one of the biggest mindset shifts. And I don't know any other companies that offer that, especially not in a professional industry. I know there's money-making things, not businesses where you sell lotions and potions and Tupperware and vitamins that make you go to the bathroom for a week or whatever's out there, okay? And you do all that work and you upsell a bottle of vitamins for $90 and you make 31 bucks, okay? And that's fine. You hire 1 million people to make $1. But I'm talking about here, your real license. And here's the best part about the override. I promise you this. If you want to make more overrides, focus on your people getting paid. And that's, every time these guys or gals put in an app, the first thing I think is, I'm so pumped. How much money did they make? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I got paid. I mean it. Because one of the best parts is that we don't talk about is we're changing people's lives. Even to start part-time. I had a guy, Will Jones, last night, made $700 part-time, and him and I were texting. He's got a good corporate job, makes 6 figures. I go, how long does it take you on your job to make whatever, 700 bucks, whatever he made? I go, a day or 2? He goes, yeah, pretty much. And he's got a firearms business. I go, how long of a class do you have to do that? And how many weeks do you have to prep up to get the people there? He goes, at least 6, 7 hours. And I go, okay. So on a baby contract, you made this. What's the message? You got to get better. You put more time in this and stop doing the other crap. I mean, it was that simple for me. I mean, well, we complicate things too much, right? And so the impact of overrides and what it can have for your life and the freedom you can have and the possibilities and what we dream of. So many of us, we don't think we're capable. We don't think we're good enough. We have baggage from this, that. You have more potential than you ever know, more than you can even think of. You're using 2% of what you're capable. You could have thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, multiple offices up and down the coast. We just got to take the handicap off. What do they call that on the golf cart? The governor? You know, I mean, I know a lot of you guys were great, nice church going folk, okay? But I got my knees dirty a little bit when I was a kid. We jammed off the governor in the golf course, made that thing go 40 miles an hour, right? That's what some of you need to do, okay? Renee's smiling because she knows, I know she had an adolescence like that too. Love you, Renee, okay? Hey, listen, you get to build a company within a company here. And what that means is, we're talking about ownership, you have all that, that's great. But here's the best part. You don't have to do all the other things that small, big business owners have to do. We do nothing. If sit down with someone who owns their own financial office, sit down with someone who owns a travel agency, sit down with a hairdresser. And what you find out is a lot of people go into business. I'm going to open a restaurant. I love to cook. I love to see people's satisfaction when I make a good meal. And you know what? They don't even get to friggin' cook 2 years in. They're doing the taxes. They're doing the books. They're doing legal. They're doing hiring. They're right or wrong. We don't have to do any of that here. We got a home office that spoils us beyond belief. Cindy Kicklighter used to tell me, and I never understood what she meant. She'd go, pretend like this is a real business. Work like it's a real business. She would go, Matt, you're asking me these questions. You're doing this. What if you just bought a car dealership, cashed out your 401k for $100,000, mortgaged your home, and had to crack a rent for $7,000 to $8,000 this month? What would you be doing? And her message was, you'd be talking to hundreds of people a day, passing out cards, wouldn't care if you, because you knew your house was going down. I didn't understand that, 24 renting an apartment, okay? But I knew what she was trying to get across. We don't have to deal with all the things that hold people up. All we have to do, see ball, hit ball, talk to people, bring them through the system, get them to training, teach other people what we know. It's such an amazing company. And through that process, you get to have your own company within a company. You know, I filled out my packet, by the way. They gave me an ownership packet in the mail. Who do you want to leave this to if you die? Who's your executive benefit? You may want to review this with your attorney. I'm like, holy, sorry. I'm like, I own something. Me, I didn't grow up like poor or anything, but my family never owned anything. And so to think, and I'm not a businessman. I have no desire to open up a health club, restaurant, any of that, none of that. I'm a hard worker, a people person who found a company that gave me ownership. I'm not delusional on my talents. And too many people in Primerica leaving are, but it's another seminar for another day. Hey, you can have an unlimited income. Isn't that all we wanted was a shot? Why do you think so many people from other countries coming into Primerica and absolutely kill it? The Haitian sensations, look at Olivier's organization. Most of them came from what? From Haiti or the Caribbean or whatever, from another country. Look at Naranjo. He's the highest paid dude. I would imagine the vast majority of those people were not born in the United States, because we take things for granted and we don't understand what we have our hands on. And because you can be comfortable and live here, 98% of poverty in the US has colored TV and air conditioning. How hard is it? And a leather couch and rent a center with all the stuff you want. But you come from another country, you got to send back money to 7, 8 people. You haven't seen your parents in 3 years. You go put it all on the line. Imagine if we worked like we didn't have what we have. I mean, it's unbelievable. They come here just for a shot to own a business. And not just Primerica. People from all over the world, right? People own gas stations, they own restaurants, they leave their family, they do everything, they mortgage the house, they cash out everything, and don't see anybody for 2 years at a shot at owning something here, because they can't even own something in the country they might be from. You just got to have perspective. Hey, we have a secure and a passive income. Security. Bill's income secure. Doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter where he goes, doesn't matter what he does. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen overnight, but that's the exact opposite that keeps us from a job. A job, the more money you make in corporate, the more insecure your income is. Why? Because the minute something goes wrong, remember, no corporation will value you more than keeping the lights on. No corporation will value you more than keeping the books balanced. And when there's a recession, when there's a merger, when there's a major scandal, when there's a dropout, who's the first person they chop? The person making 40 or the person making 240? 240. Why? Because now when you're 50 and you're 55, it's easy to drop you and hire 2 kids out of college for half the price and twice the manpower, right or wrong? It's math. When we're 30, we don't pay attention to that because we're young, we're hot, we're the rising executive. Guess what? You're going to be 45, you're going to be 50, and that job's going to chop you. I'm telling you right now, call it tough, call it harsh, but remember I said it. You better have an exit strategy when it's good, right? When's the best time to sow, right? When the getting's good, dig your well before you're thirsty. Go get free now because you don't want your hands cut. That happened to my mother. My freshman year of college, she got laid off from a $140,000 a year job. Didn't know what was going on. She was a breadwinner, all that stuff. I remember. That's why I never had any desire to hit corporate. I saw it. Number 9, and then I got my last 2. Sorry, y'all. Here's the biggest thing, in my opinion, that changed my life here that separates us from a job is our environment. It's this. Number 1 is self-development. I never heard of that before I came here. You know how many times I wish someone had taught my dad this stuff. So when I was going through middle school and he said, hey, I'll give you $30 if you read this book. And I read a book on goal setting for sports, or read a book that I thought it was all genetics. Like, yeah, I'm a good athlete. There's no way I could be a great athlete because I'm not this person. And while some people are genetically gifted, there's stories all around the world of guys who were overlooked in the draft, never made it in this. Not that I would have went pro, but I would have loved to maximize my talent. But I didn't know about consistency. I didn't know about, putting in prep work. I didn't know, 80% comes from the gym. But it's the same thing here. So being able to learn that business doesn't matter. Some of you are more talented than others with people, or some of you have a bigger network or all that. That's great. You can equalize everybody here. This is a skill business, not a talent business. Skills are learned. Talents are given, right? Hey, competition. Not only what separates us from a job, what separates us from a small business. Small business owners, maybe they make a little more money. Maybe they got a little flexibility, right? They kind of own a job. But you know what? I watch so many of them and they don't grow the way we do. Cynthia and Roy are burning my ass right now. I'm like, I got to get bigger. It's getting close, right? James Watkins beat me in this contest. I'm like, right? Like, I love that. That's so healthy for you. Right now, it doesn't validate me, and I'm still happy for them because we can all get what we get. I want them to blow up like crazy and push my team up. But in a job, like that competition creates grudges and the little passive aggressive emails, the corporate thing, right? All that, right? Because why? There's limited room. And then small business owners are on an island by themselves. No one will help them. Their competition won't help them. They won't talk to them. They have never done it before. They don't have a mentor probably. So they're just kind of figuring it out and they never reach their potential. This environment is sacred, man. And then lastly is everyone qualifies. See, in corporate America, maybe sometimes people like me qualify, right? But I know a lot of people who probably got passed over for a promotion or didn't get something because of where they're from, the color of their skin, different things with their personality, where they went to college, do they play golf, do they not play golf, right? All those things, right or wrong. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Our office, this meeting looks like the UN, which is a beautiful thing, right? It is, and we don't care. We don't care about your political background. I don't care. Are you a good person? Do you want to work and change your life? I could care less about all the other stuff. Whereas corporate America looks like 90% me, and then a few things sprinkled in between, and there's only so much cap, or people get promoted because, they have to hit a quota, or they have to do this, right or wrong. And so the fact that no matter where you're from, you get an opportunity to rise above and change your last name and change your family's tree and do something special, that alone, I don't even, I was looking at this list, Bill. I don't need to list 10. Just one of these is better than a damn job.
That's right.
Right? And you do what you do for your family. I'm not disrespecting your job. And if you went and you worked hard and you got a degree and you put it on the line and that was the best thing you knew to do, good for you. You should be proud of the effort. But the reality is, sometimes people say, is the job good? Is it bad? Is it right or wrong? Well, there's neither. It's north or south, meaning neither's right or wrong until you put in a direction. So if you want freedom, if you want ownership, if you want to be able to double your income in the 12 months, 3% is nice, but well, why don't we double it? If you want to do that, then there is a right and wrong. Because once you put in a direction, I'm in Connecticut. If I said I'm ahead north to Florida, that's wrong. I've got to go south. It's the same thing with the trajectory of your life and your financial goals and your family's goals. Once you put in certain desires and goals, then building a business here, building a company within a company here versus a corporate job, there is a right and wrong. And you have to be okay with that and admit it. And by the way, if you've been in the game and you put a lot of time into what you do and now you're at that point and it's tough to admit that, right? Because sometimes conversations we don't want to have. Here's what I want to let you know. You're not starting from the beginning. The equity, the reps you put in, the degrees you went and got, the reps you did, all of that is carrying over to who you'll be here. And things that might have taken your RVP 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 3 years, you could do in half the time. Why? Because all those seeds plan and carry over. Just because it wasn't at Primerica, some people pay their price here, like I did at 23, really paid it. And some people pay it before. So don't feel like, oh my God, I'm starting over. No, you're not. You're carrying equity over and you're retraining the way you think and retraining how you align. Hey, we love y'all. Sorry if I talk too much.
Oh boy, that was great, Matt. No, you nailed it. I want to make a point. There's a man named Mondami who just got elected in New York as mayor. He's a avowed socialist. And 50% of the people that voted for him were not born in the United States. They were born somewhere else and moved here. And where'd they come from? Socialist countries. So they vote the only thing they know. So that's what happens when people join Primerica. For a while, Matt, they operate like it's a job and they don't give it their all because that's all they know. How long did it take you to make that transition from corporate America thinking when you came here, your habits, the activity, obviously, Cindy was trying to tell you something, Matt?
I think the thinking I bought into pretty early, but I think the habits were definitely dragging. And so I think really probably like on if I'm being honest, probably at least 2, 3 years to get aligned and be like, where every day I learned how to work for myself, the important, there was a desire to do what I had to do because in Primerica in the beginning, like you said, it's like a job. So I showed up to the office because I had nowhere to go. But you don't do anything for 2 weeks and you don't feel it for a month. Like you just don't delayed gratification, time management, kind of digging your well before you're thirsty, all those habits and what we do, that took me a while. And part of it was I also didn't have to make money. So that sense of urgency, although in my mind I wanted to, there was less of that too, because I was a kid here, but I was a kid in general. Yeah. So
Matt, Art Williams built a whole company on 13 words. And he ignited something in people like me and you and people on this call that we felt but never could articulate. And very simple, I want to be somebody. It borders on being an obsession. And what is somebody to you, Matt? What is being a somebody that borders on being an obsession? What is that to you?
I mean, I think it's like just having that a different level of life, being able to do something different, not following the herd. And I think obviously part of that is financial success, but I think ultimately it is, there's a pride where you look at yourself kind of like, when I played college sports and like played football, right? A lot of people don't take it that far and there was always a pride in that, like, man, I didn't quit. I was willing to do things a lot of people wouldn't do. I mean, most college students are drinking beer, and I'm up at 6 a.m. at film, and then I'm here and lifting here, and now I'm doing this in the summer, and so it's like the same thing here. I think being proud of who you are and maximizing the time you have and maximizing God's gifts. And then, obviously on that side, you just want people to know your name, right? I don't know how to say it any better than that. Hey, when we were all 9, 14, 17, didn't we all want to be a movie star, entertainer, athlete, dance, right? Because you wanted influence, you wanted to be somebody. And, obviously I can't sing, I can't dance, and my 40 times too slow. But to come here in Primerica where they treat you like a celebrity and people want your advice and your opinion and you start to have influence and obviously some really great financial resources, that's what this company gives. It's a chance to be somebody in that light.
I felt when I joined the company, I was at corporate America, and I felt that I started succumbing to being okay with average and ordinary. And Art said, call me anything but average and ordinary. And on your tombstone is going to be dud or stud. What has to rise up in you to get this thing going where you become appalled when you start realizing that I'm just like everybody else? And he started getting mad at yourself for accepting mediocrity. Talk about that, Matt, and how do you get out of that hellhole?
Yeah, it's good. I think first is you lockstep with the most successful people in your office. I mean, that's what I did when I was new. I got around people who were active, people who were performing, people who were, knew what they were doing or at least heading in the right direction. Because you can't hang around with motivated people. You can't hang around with people going in a certain direction. Because if you don't start doing what they're doing, it just fades. It won't connect. And so I think getting around the right people was huge. And then I think taking action on the things that were scary. The phone weighed 1,000. I remember my first phone call, first time reading the script, doing it. Like I remember that like it was yesterday and feeling this big and shaking and you learn to do it, right? Like the same time you got on a roller coaster with a girl you like in middle school, she's like, oh, get on the roller coaster. And you're like, yeah, yeah, let's do that. I'm excited. I'm like, God, I hate roller coasters. But you're like, you know what I'm talking about? That instant sweat. You grip the bar and you hold it so tight, like whoop, one bead comes down from a roller coaster. It's kind of the same thing with making a phone call, stepping into your first house and giving a presentation and speaking in front of the room and you're all worried the night before and you prep for an hour and a half. And you just watch as those things get easier and easier and fade away. But most people they avoid that bully, that new thing right there, and you just got to kind of learn to go, and you just kind of punch it. And then it gets easier and easier. And by hanging around those people and it climbs, just like, Bill's one of the 5 people I talk to the most in my life, right? Because I want to get around people who are still thinking different, going in different directions. And I think that's really important for people, whether they're part-time, whether they're full-time, whether they're going RVP. You gotta assess the people you're talking to most in your life. And are you really checking in? Because if not, you'll have people you're comfortable with, but they're not going to help you grow. Still love them. I'm not like, I'm not telling you
They
never
make you
talk to
feel
them again.
uncomfortable. I've never been around Art Williams when I felt comfortable. I wanted to measure up in Art's eyes.
Mm.
We got to have one of those kinds of people in our life, right? And I love a quote from Abraham Lincoln. I am where I am today because I didn't want to let the people down that I respected. Well, how is that important?
I mean, I literally made a post yesterday that a lot of people responded to. I got family photos of it. And I'm talking family, but obviously mentors too. I just made a quick post. They said for 30 years, all I wanted was my dad to have a son he was proud of. And I said 30 years later, all I want is my son to have a dad he's proud of. And I said, God's got a good sense of humor, huh? It's crazy. So my family drive is like that's crazy to me. I want to be special, for my family. I want to be different, in everything. Like I want to be the Jack Little League coach. I was like, my dad's still fit. Like I want to be like, hey, my dad can take us wherever on vacation. Oh, I can go to. I've been to those games. I've been to that kind. And obviously the habits and your morals and your ethics too. I think that goes without saying. And then in this business, we have mental. Bill, I have that with you. I'm never comfortable on the phone. I mean, like I was talking to the team and I was coaching them. I'm like, hey, listen, some of us we're too buddy buddy with our downlines. I'm not saying you don't have fun and you're gonna form a friendship. Like I would consider you a friend, but way more like a coach and a mentor first. Like it's not, not like my high school buddy, like letting my hair down. And I think, that's an important thing. And then there's like, it's like the firm. If you've ever talked to anybody from an Asian background, right? They have like they call it the dynasty. their family, their ancestors. Like, you get straight A's, you do this, you do that. Why? Because you don't want to let down the dynasty, right? I look at this hierarchy, right? You got Orender's torch, but are you really carrying it? I take that thing personal. Like, and I know some of the leaders on here do, like Cynthia and Roy and Sam and, Gunas and Carolyn Myers. Anybody knows that it's like, that's a pretty special torch to hold, but what are you going to do with it? You're going to wear a t-shirt and jump up on convention? That's great. But are you going to be the name that can bring it to the new level, to bring pride to it, and to make it stand for what's that? I was always like that with every team I was on. I was always proud of where I was, even on not great teams. And you've got an incredible team here, and so you gotta have some pride. You gotta want to say, I want the rock. I want to be a captain on this team. I want to take it to the next level. And yeah, no, 1,000%.
Art says, comment on this. Life will not give you what you want. Life will only give you what you're willing to fight for.
Mm. To me, that's like the business here, and everybody talks, and what do they say? Like, the boxer gets recognized under the lights, but he becomes a champion in the dark, becomes a champion on the miles on the road. That's Primerica. I was super proud of I had a girl, Stephanie Edwards, and she's like, I'm trying to make things happen, there's this and that. And I said, call military bases. It's military month this month. I'm not advocating that for you if you're brand new or whatever, but just to make, like, you got to get something going. She called 93 people yesterday. I said, that's what it takes to win. That's the scrappy stuff. That's the stuff no one talks about on stage. That's when you're like, I got to make a play. I got to get in front of people. I got to do something. And, you know, I don't know. Most people, they don't have it. It's not there. And you want them to have it. You want
Isn't
that
it
desire.
terrible to see someone? It's like the Rocky 3 movie where Rocky is running and Apollo Creed is he can tell he's lost it. He lost
Yeah.
his fight. Can
Yeah.
you imagine someone saying they have no fight in them? Talk about that.
Yeah, I remember that scene. He's hitting him in the head with the headgear. Damn it, Rock. Right? I mean, that's one of the greatest scenes in film history. But that's the truth. We look at people sometimes and the talent is there. But it's, again, I like, if they get around people doing that and that becomes your new normal, you realize how little I was doing before. And that's what's upsetting as a coach, because you look at people and it's like people either not taking their time seriously, or they're doing the wrong things with their time, or just their standard is so low, and it just deserves a proper perspective. So if you get around those people, but yeah, of course, I remember Cindy used to say this. She's like, I want to take the pain for you. I do, but you just have to pay that price. And again, my son's young, but I'm imagining people with older children would say the same thing. There's some things you really want to take away, but you just got to go through it. People got to
You know,
learn that here.
I'll end on this, Matt. I've interviewed a lot of people for the various things I do, and I always ask them the question, what does it mean to you that our famous quote by Art, life is just a flicker? What does that mean?
It means don't waste the time you have. I saw, funny story. I had a mouse in my car. I'm going somewhere with this. I walked outside. There was a mouse sitting in my passenger seat. Okay. So I got a humane trap, caught him the next day. I was scared to drive my car for 2 days until I got the trap. I'm not going to lie. I drove Charlene's. Okay. He was cute too, but I was like, I don't want it going up my pant leg and crashing the car, whatever. And so my mom sent me a picture of me and my Jaju, Polish for grandpa. And it was like a show and tell day. And I was 32 years ago. And it was me because I had a pet mouse. And it was me, him, and there on like show and tell day. And I go, my dad is older than my Jaju was in that picture. And I'm like, my son is about to be the age I was, like that. Like, I can still feel my grandfather. I can still, you know what I mean? Like those memories. And it's amazing how fast it goes. I'm coming up on 20 years high school reunion in a year. You too, Renee. And the whole point is, it is a flicker. And so we can't control that, but I know we can maximize today. I know we can do the best we can. And I think one of the greatest lies that stops people where they get hit with that is that they think someday this, or if I had more of this, or they're looking at all things they don't have. I think if we look at the things we have and we value them and we realize where we're going and we put that time in, it allows you to be a lot more present. I have a lot of those moments where I shift to time or to things. And so the whole point of that is, I mean, it's the truest statement in the world. The older we get, the faster it goes. Don't waste what you got and just be grateful, even with all the crap that's going on. It could be a hell of a lot worse. And so count your blessings and plant your seeds.
I talked to Betty Hines a couple of days ago. She's one of my favorite people. It's Betty Hines is Cindy Kicklighter's 88-year-old mother, and she
She
sounds
just
like
learned how to text.
uh, and Cindy's been gone over 3 years. Hard to believe. And the biggest lie the devil tells, and remember Andy Young talking about this, you've got more time. How many of us blow another Christmas is gone? Like how old is Atlas?
3.
I've got 14, 15-year-old grandsons. They don't have time for me.
Right.
You got 10, 12 more years with him. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Closest on that one is that now is the biggest procrastination is a killer. We've got to start doing the things that are uncomfortable for a period of time. So close us with that, and then I'll make one final statement.
Hey, that's so true. I mean, I read in a book once that said it best. If you think you got your parents for 20 more years or your kids in the house for 10 more years, and you go fishing once a year, or you go to a baseball game trip with your father once a year, you don't have 10 more years. You got 10 more times. That's the real perception of time. That annual corn fest you go to, or the baseball.
Christmas is,
Christmas. Yeah, of course. Christmas,
how
Thanksgiving
many more
coming.
Christmases do you have with your parents?
Mm,
The thing about it that drove me was what a gift you can do by calling your parents up and saying, we're taking you to Hawaii.
hmm
Next time the company goes on a company, take them to Hawaii with you. Spend a few more days. It'll cost you for them 5 or 6 thousand. Think about that. That's 10 life apps in a
hmm
year.
hmm
More. Take your parents. My dad. I wanted to buy him a car. There's nothing greater in South Side of Chicago than to brag to your friends that your son bought you something. So he bought him a car, new car. He ordered it. Supposed to pick it up on Monday. I got a call at 4 o'clock on a Friday. Dad had a stroke.
mm,
He could never drive again.
mm.
We had to cancel the car. The point I'm making is that you think you got time for the things that are important to you. And I want to end on this, and man, I'll let you go. You don't have to comment. At any given moment, you have the power to say, this is not how my story is going to end. If today were the last one, this is not how my story is going to end. Working at corporate America, working at a job, having my wife go to work Monday morning. Hey, another Christmas, another without sending my parents on a great trip. Art Williams was on to something when he said everybody wants to be somebody because he tapped into something so powerful. It was an engine inside all of us that want to be somebody. And I can tell, Matt, you can't explain it. None of us can. All I know, it's there. He did his best, but he tapped into something so deep inside of me and so many of the right kind of people. Don't forget, folks, this Tuesday we have a monumental meeting with myself, Francis Averett, and Andy Onstead on the master class on recruiting and building. The last one of the year, or next one's not until February. If all things, you got to master this Art Williams system. God bless everyone. Great meeting today. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Nick. All right, and Tony's gone already. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.